All the historical scenes and figures you will see in this documentary have been reconstructed and created based on authentic historical sources with the assistance of artificial intelligence. The year was 1788 AD. The plains of Merv, in the eastern expanse of Old Khorasan, under the command of Aga Muhammad Khan Qajar, marched from Khorasan to suppress the rebellion of Turkmen and Afghan tribes. The number of troops was around 20,000. Most armed with swords, spears, and matchlock muskets. Opposing them stood the Turkmen forces, equipped with light weapons and cannons obtained through Russian channels. The battle lasted only a few hours. The formation of the army collapsed. Historians record the casualties between 3,000 and 5,000 men. This event, in Qajar sources, came to be remembered as the Incident of Merv. 13 years had passed since the tragedy of Merv. The Qajar court now dwelled in splendor and calm. The Negarestan Hall, glittering with crystal chandeliers and carpets of Tabriz, was the setting for one of the Shah's formal banquets. Music and conversation filled the air. The Shah sat upon his golden throne. That very day, according to historical reports, Sir Harford Jones Bridges, the representative of the British government in Iran, entered the palace for an official audience. With a Medal of Honor upon his chest, he bowed before the throne and presented a letter from London. The Shah looked at the letter and asked, "What have they written?" Sir Jones replied, "Reports have reached London concerning recent communications between Iranian envoys and the government of France. Meetings in Tabriz between your representatives and French officials." The Shah cast his gaze around the hall and asked Mirza Shafi Qaim Maqam Farahani to explain. "Your Majesty, the Crown Prince, in the course of official correspondence, has merely sent messages of friendship to strengthen cordial relations. The ambassador in response referred to the financial state of the Iranian government and advised restraint." Sir Jones replied, "In these circumstances, Your Majesty, it would be prudent to avoid any expense that might be deemed unnecessary." The Shah smiled faintly, stroked his beard, and said softly, "Bring the table." The banquet resumed. Conversation returned, and without any resolution. The air of the city was cold and veiled in mist. Snow hung from the roofs of the mud brick houses, and the flames of torches flickered in the courtyards of the Crown Prince's palace. Inside a vast chamber with plastered walls and maps of the Caucasus hanging in ornate frames, Abbas Mirza sat behind a wooden desk. Before him were seated two European men, emissaries of the French government. In the records of the Ottoman embassy, their names appeared as Duperrey and Colonel Lamy. Upon the desk lay sealed letters from Paris and a few sheets of unfinished contracts. The room was heavy with silence. "We have placed orders for cannons and muskets, as your government promised, to strengthen the army of Azerbaijan. Months have passed now, and still no news of the shipments. Has this treaty been abandoned?" Duperrey exchanged a glance with his companion. "Your Highness, the situation in Europe has changed. Napoleon is now at war with the Russians." The Crown Prince lowered his head. The hiss of the brazier filled the silence. "So, Iran must pay the price for Europe's wars? Our borders burn, and still my soldiers train with old muskets." The second envoy smiled faintly. Colonel Lamy, "We are but messengers, Your Highness. The agreements are, for now, suspended. Perhaps in the future," Abbas Mirza interrupting. "In the future? Perhaps by then no border will remain to defend." Silence fell again. The envoys rose, bowed deeply, and departed. Their footsteps faded down the corridor. The Crown Prince remained, surrounded by papers and maps that all seemed to warn of the same approaching storm, and began to write. "To the esteemed Qaim Maqam Farahani, or to the Imperial Court. It is with a heavy heart that I report the dire condition of our army on the northern front. especially along the Caucasian borders, a situation that cannot endure any further delay. In our recent negotiations and correspondence with the European representatives, we humbly requested the dispatch of artillery, muskets, and munitions. Yet because of the turmoil across Europe and the disorder of the trade routes, none of these vital supplies have reached us. I am acutely aware of the grave financial hardships faced by the state. Nevertheless, I must speak with complete honesty. I recognize the burdens on the Treasury, yet I assure you that strengthening our army and acquiring the necessary military equipment will not take away the daily sustenance of our people. We tremble at the thought of repeating disasters such as the bloody defeat at Merv, and we warn that only by matching our enemies in strength and modernization can we hope to endure these perilous times. I earnestly request that the dispatch of equipment and the assignment of technical instructors be treated as matters of urgent necessity. With the deepest respect and sincere concern, Abbas Mirza, Crown Prince and Commander of the Forces of Azerbaijan. No reply to it was recorded. A few months later, along the northern frontiers, the first clash between the Iranian army and Russian forces began. That spring, the Russian army, under the command of General Pavel Tsitsyanov, crossed the border and laid siege to the city of Ganja. Ganja fell. According to Russian accounts, in the first 3 hours of battle alone, over 2,000 Iranian soldiers were killed or wounded. By sunset, the Russian columns advanced toward the Aras River. The Shah sat upon his throne. Before him lay a great map of the Caucasus. His eyes were fixed on the crimson stains that crept along the frontier. The enemy strikes from afar, and his cannons. One cannot fight fire with a sword. Then the Shah lifted his gaze from the map and turned toward the British ambassador. You said there would be no war. You said peace would be secured through promises and writings. Is this your peace? The ambassador lowered his head. Your Majesty, the matter has slipped beyond our control. Perhaps now the only course is mediation, to seek peace. And thus the proposal for peace was born. According to Russian records, General Nikolai Rdishchov was appointed by the Tsar's government to negotiate with Iran. From the Iranian side, Mirza Abdel-Wahab Motammed al-Dawla was chosen as chief delegate. The mediation between the two states was undertaken by Sir Gori Usli, the British ambassador. Negotiations commenced in a small village beside the Aras River, a place known as Gulistan. British notes describe the setting: a simple house of mud and timber, a short table placed in the center of the room. Outside, the murmur of the river could be heard, and the autumn wind whispered through the dry branches. 3 men sat at the table: the Russian delegate, the Iranian envoy, and between them, the ambassador of England. Upon the table lay a document written in Russian and Persian. According to the official text of the treaty, Iran renounced its claim to the provinces of Georgia, Dagestan, Shirvan, Baku, Ganja, Karabagh, and Talish. In return, Russia guaranteed support for the sovereignty of Fath Ali Shah and the succession of Abbas Mirza. In the notes of Sir Gori Usli, it is written, at the moment of signing, the Iranian representative hesitated, turned the pen slowly in his hand, and without a word wrote his name, narrator. When the news of the signing reached Tehran, the Shah read half the letter and set it down upon the table. He spoke no word.